The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystal floors and soaring metallic walls that reached toward a dome made of pure starlight. Representatives from 847 different worlds sat in their assigned places, each one more advanced than the last primitive species they had encountered. The air hummed with translation devices working in real time, converting thousands of different languages into something every being could understand. Ambassador Veltar of the Hegemony stood at the central podium, his 4 arms spread wide in a gesture that meant triumph in his culture. "Fellow council members," Veltar announced, his voice carrying across the vast chamber without any effort. "Today we address the matter of the 3rd planet in the Sol system." A holographic display materialized above his head, showing a blue and green world spinning slowly in the darkness. "This world, which its inhabitants call Earth, has refused our generous offer to join the galactic community under our protection." Murmurs of surprise rippled through the assembly. In the 3,000 years since the council had been formed, no species had ever refused their invitation. The benefits were too obvious to ignore. Advanced technology, medical knowledge that could extend lifespans by centuries, and access to trade routes that spanned the entire galaxy. Only the most primitive or foolish species would turn down such an opportunity. "The inhabitants of this world," Veltar continued, "have not only refused our offer, but have also denied us access to their mineral resources, particularly the rare earth metals that are abundant on their planet." The hologram shifted to show underground deposits of valuable materials. They claim these resources belong to them alone, despite their obvious inability to properly utilize such gifts. Councillor Thexnor of the Zephyrian Empire raised one of his tentacles to speak. "What level of technology have these humans achieved?" he asked, making the word humans sound like something unpleasant. "Our scouts report they have achieved basic nuclear fission and primitive spaceflight," Veltar replied with what passed for a smile among his people. "They have barely left their own solar system and still use chemical rockets for propulsion. Their weapons are crude projectile-based systems and explosive devices. They show no evidence of energy shields, plasma weaponry, or even basic faster-than-light communication." Laughter echoed through the chamber. Representative Corthell of the Spiral Federation stood up, his crystalline body catching the light. "Surely you jest, Ambassador. A species that primitive cannot pose any real resistance to our forces." "Indeed," Veltar agreed, "which is why the Council's decision should be a simple one. We propose immediate corrective annexation of the Sol system. A small fleet should be more than sufficient to convince these humans to see reason." The vote was called, and not a single representative opposed the motion. Why would they? In their long history of expansion across the galaxy, the Council had never encountered a species that could resist their authority once they made their intentions clear. Most civilizations welcomed them with open arms once they saw the benefits of joining the galactic community. The few that initially resisted always surrendered quickly once they witnessed the advanced technology arrayed against them. On Earth, Admiral Kim Jae-wook sat in the command center deep beneath Sol, watching the stars through the massive display screen that covered the entire north wall. The facility had been built 50 years earlier, when Earth first detected signals from space that proved they were not alone in the universe. Since then, humanity had been preparing for this moment, though few people knew exactly what they were preparing for. The communication console suddenly came alive with urgent beeping sounds. Communications Officer Park Min-ho turned toward the Admiral with a concerned expression. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission on all frequencies. It's not from any Earth source." "Put it on the main screen," Admiral Kim ordered. The display filled with the image of Ambassador Veltar, though the translation software made his words understandable to human ears. "People of Earth," the alien said, "the Galactic Council extends this final opportunity for peaceful integration into our community. You have 72 hours to surrender your planetary government to Council authority and grant us full access to your world's resources. Failure to comply will result in the immediate implementation of corrective measures." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in complete silence. Admiral Kim had been expecting this day for decades, but hearing the actual ultimatum still sent a chill down his spine. He pressed a button that connected him directly to the office of President Park So-min in the Blue House. "Madam President," he said when her face appeared on his personal screen, "they've made their move." President Park had been briefed on this possibility many times, but the reality was still shocking. "How long do we have?" 72 hours, Admiral Kim replied. "They want complete surrender and control of all our resources." "Convene the Emergency Council immediately," President Park ordered. "I want every world leader connected within the hour." Within 60 minutes, the leaders of every major nation on Earth were connected through secure quantum communication links. The discussion was brief and unanimous. Earth would not surrender to alien demands, regardless of the technological gap between the species. Dr. Lee Hyun-woo arrived at the Seoul Command Center as the world leaders were finishing their conference. As Earth's leading expert on alien technology and communication, he had been studying every piece of information they had gathered about the Galactic Council for the past 20 years. His assistant, Choi Min-ji, followed him into the analysis room carrying several data tablets loaded with their latest research. "What's your assessment, Doctor?" Admiral Kim asked. Dr. Lee pulled up a holographic display showing the alien fleet positions that their long-range sensors had detected. "Something bothers me about their formation, Admiral. They're spread out across the outer solar system in a pattern that suggests they expect no real resistance." Choi Min-ji added her own observations. "The energy signatures we're detecting from their ships match technology that our computers estimate to be at least 500 years more advanced than ours, but their scanning patterns suggest they're using outdated information about our capabilities." "What do you mean?" Admiral Kim asked. "Their last detailed scan of Earth was conducted almost 50 years ago," Dr. Lee explained. "They have no idea what we've developed since then. They think we're still using the same primitive technology they detected when they first found us." Admiral Kim felt a grim smile cross his face. 50 years ago, Earth really had been using primitive chemical rockets and basic nuclear technology. But the knowledge that they were not alone in the universe had motivated the greatest technological advancement in human history. Secret projects in dozens of countries had developed weapons and defensive systems that the aliens could never expect from a supposedly primitive species. President Park's face appeared on the main screen again. "Admiral, the Global Council has reached its decision. Prepare to transmit our response to the Galactic Council." The transmission was brief and delivered in the calm, professional tone that President Park was known for. "Representatives of the Galactic Council, we have received your ultimatum and have considered your demands carefully. After full consultation with the people and governments of Earth, we respectfully decline your generous offer of subjugation. We prefer to remain independent and in control of our own destiny. We hope you will respect our decision and withdraw your forces from our solar system." The transmission ended, and the command center fell silent again. Everyone present knew that. They had just declared war on a galactic empire with technology centuries ahead of their own. But they also knew that Earth had spent 50 years preparing for exactly this moment. In the depths of space, the alien fleet commanders received Earth's response with a mixture of amusement and disbelief. War Marshal Thexnor, commanding the invasion fleet from his flagship, actually laughed when he heard the transmission. "These humans still think they have a choice," he said to his staff. "Very well. If they insist on learning the hard way, we shall provide them with an education." The 72-hour countdown began, and both sides prepared for a conflict that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The aliens expected a quick and easy victory over a primitive species that had no hope of resistance. The humans prepared to show the galaxy that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you underestimate. The alien invasion fleet dropped out of hyperspace near the edge of Earth's solar system, with the confidence of predators approaching helpless prey. War Marshal Thexnor stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical displays show the positions of his 300 vessels as they moved into attack formation. Each ship was a masterpiece of galactic engineering, equipped with plasma cannons that could melt mountains and energy shields that had never been penetrated by any known weapon. "Deploy scanning arrays," Thexnor ordered his tactical officer. "I want a complete analysis of their defensive capabilities before we begin the bombardment." The scans revealed exactly what they expected to find: a small collection of primitive space stations orbiting the third planet, a few basic satellites providing communication and navigation services, and what appeared to be crude mining operations on the planet's single moon. The humans had not even attempted to build orbital defense platforms or weapons systems that could threaten ships in space. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, "we are detecting some unexpected energy signatures from the human vessels near their moon." Thexnor glanced at the display showing 3 small human ships positioned defensively between the alien fleet and Earth. The vessels were tiny compared to his massive warships, barely larger than the shuttlecraft his people used for short-range transportation. "What kind of energy signatures?" "Plasma-based weapons, sir, and what appears to be some form of antimatter propulsion system." Thexnor frowned. His intelligence reports had indicated that humans were still using chemical rockets and primitive projectile weapons. Perhaps they had made some recent advances, but it hardly mattered. Even with upgraded technology, 3 small ships could not hope to challenge an entire invasion fleet. "Open a communication channel to the lead human vessel," he ordered. The main screen filled with the image of a human male wearing what appeared to be a military uniform. The human's face showed no fear despite being outnumbered 100 to 1. "This is Captain Yoon Tae-ho of the Earth Defense Force battleship Soul's Pride. You are ordered to withdraw from Earth space immediately." Thexnor almost laughed at the audacity. "I am War Marshal Thexnor of the Galactic Council Invasion Fleet. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our vessels." Captain Yoon's expression remained calm and professional. "We respectfully disagree with your assessment, Marshal. This is your final warning." The communication channel closed, leaving Thexnor staring at a blank screen. The human had actually threatened him, despite being hopelessly outgunned and outnumbered. Either these creatures were incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. "All ships, target the human vessels," Thexnor commanded. "Disable their engines, but try to avoid destroying them completely. I want survivors to interrogate." The alien fleet opened fire with precisely controlled plasma bursts designed to cripple the human ships without causing fatal damage. What happened next would be discussed in galactic military academies for centuries to come. The human ships moved like nothing the aliens had ever seen before. Instead of attempting to flee or surrender, they accelerated directly toward the alien fleet at impossible speeds. Captain Yoon's ship, Soul's Pride, somehow avoided every plasma bolt fired at it while simultaneously returning fire with weapons that should not have existed. Lieutenant Jin Hai-ri, piloting a smaller vessel called Busan Lightning, performed maneuvers that violated several fundamental laws of physics as the aliens understood them. Her ship twisted and spun through space in patterns that made the alien targeting computers malfunction, unable to predict where she would be from one second to the next. The first alien cruiser to fall was the hegemony vessel Dominant Force, disabled when Jin Hai-ri's ship somehow appeared directly behind it and fired a concentrated antimatter burst into its engine core. The massive warship went dark and began drifting helplessly through space. "How is this possible?" Thexnor demanded as he watched 2 more of his ships suffer the same fate. Their technology readings showed primitive capabilities. His tactical officer was frantically analyzing the battle data. "Sir, the human ships are using technology that matches our own level of advancement, but their tactical approach is completely unlike anything in our databases." Captain Yoon's voice came over the communication system again. "Marshal, our offer to allow you to withdraw peacefully is still available. We have no desire for unnecessary bloodshed." Thexnor stared at the tactical display showing 6 of his ships disabled or destroyed by 3 human vessels that should have been swept aside in seconds. "Impossible. Our intelligence clearly showed that these humans had barely achieved spaceflight. On Earth, the command center in Seoul was monitoring the battle through quantum communication links with the 3 ships. Admiral Kim watched the tactical displays with grim satisfaction. 50 years of secret development had produced weapons and defensive systems that matched anything the galaxy had to offer. But more importantly, they had produced something the aliens had never encountered: human tactical thinking. Dr. Lee Hyun-woo was analyzing the alien ship movements in real time. "Admiral, their battle formations follow predictable patterns based on mathematical optimization. They're fighting like computers, not like warriors." Technical Officer Bae Sung-ho was monitoring communications from the alien ships his team had managed to infiltrate electronically. "Sir, you need to hear this. The alien commanders are reporting that our tactics make no sense according to their military doctrine." Admiral Kim pressed a button to hear the intercepted alien communications. The voice of an alien tactical officer came through the speakers, translated into Korean by their computer systems. The human vessels are not following optimal engagement protocols. They seem to be deliberately choosing tactically disadvantageous positions, but somehow turning those positions into advantages. Dr. Kang Yuri, Earth's leading military historian, had been studying galactic warfare patterns for decades. She approached Admiral Kim with a data tablet full of analysis. "Admiral, I think I understand what's happening. Every species the Galactic Council has encountered achieved spaceflight through cooperation and peaceful development. They learned to fight only after they reached the stars, and they learned from teachers who had never fought anyone as advanced as themselves." "What does that mean for us?" Admiral Kim asked. "It means they've never faced an opponent that spent its entire evolutionary history perfecting the art of warfare," Dr. Kang replied. "Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We developed tactics and strategies through constant conflict with enemies who were exactly as smart and resourceful as we were. The aliens learned to fight by conquering primitives." The truth was becoming clear as the battle continued. The Galactic Council's military doctrine was based on overwhelming technological superiority against inferior opponents. They had never needed to develop the complex tactical thinking that humans had refined through millennia of warfare against equals. Lieutenant Jin Hai-Ri's voice came through the communications system from her fighter craft. "Command, I'm reading. Massive energy buildups in the alien fleet. They're preparing to retreat." War Marshal Thexnor stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display with growing horror. In less than an hour, these supposedly primitive humans had disabled or destroyed 15 of his ships, while suffering no casualties of their own. His weapons were clearly superior, but the humans seemed to know exactly where his ships would be and what they would do before his own commanders had made their decisions. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we are receiving urgent messages from Fleet Command. They are ordering us to withdraw and reassess the situation." Thexnor felt the shame of defeat burning in his chest. "All ships, withdraw to the outer system. Maintain defensive positions." As the alien fleet retreated, Captain Yoon opened a final communication channel. "Marshal, we hope this demonstrates that Earth is capable of defending itself. We still prefer a peaceful resolution to this conflict." The communication ended, leaving Thexnor to contemplate the impossible. A species that his scouts had classified as barely capable of spaceflight had just defeated a fleet that had conquered 47 worlds. Either his intelligence was completely wrong, or these humans were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. On Earth, the celebration in the command center was subdued. They had won the first battle, but everyone knew the aliens would return, with larger fleets and better preparation. Admiral Kim looked around at his staff and felt a mixture of pride and concern. "This is just the beginning," he announced. "They'll be back, and next time they won't underestimate us." Dr. Lee was already analyzing the alien ship designs from the battle recordings. "Admiral, we captured several terabytes of technical data from their ships. If we can reverse engineer their technology—" "Do it!" Admiral Kim ordered. "We have—" "Maybe weeks before they return with reinforcements. I want every advantage we can get." The first battle was over, but the war for Earth's independence had only just begun. The aliens had learned that humans were not the primitives they had expected, but they had not yet understood just how dangerous an enemy they had chosen to face. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened 3 days after the humiliating defeat at Earth. The Great Hall buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from across the galaxy struggled to understand how their most experienced invasion fleet had been repelled by a supposedly primitive species. Ambassador Veltar stood before the assembly, his forearms trembling with barely controlled rage. "Fellow council members," Veltar announced, his voice carrying an edge that had not been there during the previous session, "we have gravely underestimated the threat posed by the humans of Earth." Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the chamber. Councillor Korth L. of the Spiral Federation rose from his crystalline seat. "Surely you exaggerate, Ambassador. How could a species that lacks faster-than-light travel pose any real threat to our forces?" War Marshal Thexnor stepped forward, his defeat written clearly across his alien features. "Honorable council members, I have commanded fleets for over 2 centuries. I have conquered 47 worlds and never known defeat. The humans destroyed 15 of my ships and forced my retreat without losing a single vessel." The hall fell into stunned silence. Representative Prexdar of the Inner Worlds Confederation stood slowly. How is such a thing possible? Our intelligence clearly showed these humans possessed only primitive technology. Our intelligence was 50 years out of date, Thexnor admitted. In that time, the humans have achieved technological parity with our own forces, but more disturbing than their weapons is their approach to warfare itself. On Earth, General Nam Ji-hoon stood in the underground facility that had become the planet's primary military command center. Banks of computers lined the walls, each one analyzing different aspects of the alien technology they had captured during the first battle. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock to understand and improve upon designs that had taken the aliens centuries to develop. Dr. Ro Yunbi approached the general with a data tablet containing the latest analysis results. Sir, we've made significant progress in understanding their faster-than-light communication systems. Dr. Shin Dongmin's team believes they can not only replicate the technology, but actually improve upon it. General Nam studied the technical specifications with growing amazement. How long before we can implement these improvements? Dr. Shin estimates 2 weeks for the first prototype, Dr. Ro replied. The aliens built their technology for reliability and standardization across their empire. We're building ours for maximum effectiveness against their specific systems. In another section of the facility, Dr. Shin Dong-min was working with a team of physicists to reverse engineer alien faster-than-light drive technology. What they discovered defied everything the scientific community thought they knew about space travel. The alien drives were not just propulsion systems, but tools that could manipulate the fundamental structure of space and time itself. General, Dr. Shin called out as Nam approached his workstation. We've discovered something remarkable about the alien drive systems. They're not just moving their ships faster than light. They're actually folding space around their vessels. What does that mean for us? General Nam asked. It means we can do more than just copy their technology, Dr. Shin explained with excitement. We can use it in ways they never imagined. What if we folded space around our entire planet? The concept was staggering. Instead of building individual ships to fight the aliens, Earth could become a single massive weapon capable of appearing anywhere in the solar system. General Nam immediately authorized unlimited resources for the project. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council had made their own decision. If a standard invasion fleet could not handle the humans, they would deploy the Ravager fleet, a massive armada that had never known defeat in 500 campaigns across the galaxy. 5,000 ships, each one larger and more powerful than anything in the previous invasion force, began their journey toward Earth. Admiral Corthell himself would command this fleet, bringing with him weapons that could destroy entire planets, and shields that had withstood the fury of dying stars. The journey would take several weeks using the fastest hyperspace routes, giving the humans time to prepare whatever primitive defenses they could manage. But when the Ravager fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, they found something impossible. Earth was gone. Not destroyed, not evacuated, but completely absent from its orbit around the sun. Long-range scanners detected no debris field, no energy signatures that would indicate the planet had been annihilated. It had simply vanished. This is impossible, Admiral Corthell stated from his command ship. Planets do not simply disappear. His chief science officer, a being whose species had mastered physics for over a millennium, was equally baffled. Sir, according to our sensors, there is no trace that a planet ever existed in this orbital position. It is as if Earth was never there at all. Commander Oh In-wook stood on the bridge of the battleship Incheon Pride, watching through the main viewing screen as the alien fleet spread out in confusion. Earth hung in space behind the alien formation, having used its new faster-than-light capability to move to the opposite side of the solar system. The entire planet had become a stealth vessel capable of faster-than-light travel. All stations report ready, Commander O announced into his communication system. Begin operation. Homecoming. Earth materialized behind the alien fleet like a nightmare emerging from darkness. The planet's surface bristled with weapons that had been constructed in secret over the past 50 years. Orbital platforms that had been disguised as communication satellites revealed themselves to be particle beam cannons capable of destroying capital ships with single shots. The aliens found themselves caught between the planet they had come to conquer and the asteroid belt they had planned to use as cover. Captain Seo Da-hai led the first wave of human boarding parties, using teleportation technology reverse-engineered from alien systems to appear directly inside enemy ships. What the aliens discovered about human boarding tactics would haunt their military doctrine for generations. Humans did not simply overwhelm their enemies with superior firepower. They studied their opponents, learned their weaknesses, and exploited those weaknesses with surgical precision. Captain Seo's teams moved through alien ships like ghosts, disabling critical systems and capturing key personnel before the alien crews even realized they had been boarded. The humans seemed to understand alien ship layouts better than the aliens themselves, navigating through corridors and maintenance shafts that many alien crew members did not even know existed. Admiral Korthel watched in horror as ship after ship in his fleet went dark, their crews captured and their systems under human control. "How are they doing this?" he demanded of his tactical staff. "How do they know our ship designs better than we do?" The answer came from Dr. Jung Woo Jin, who had spent weeks analyzing captured alien technology. The aliens had standardized their ship designs across their entire empire, using the same layouts and systems for centuries. What seemed like efficient standardization to the aliens was a massive vulnerability to humans who had learned to exploit any weakness they could find. "Sir," Jung reported to Admiral Kim in the Seoul Command Center, "we've cracked their faster-than-light communication protocols. We can now intercept and modify their fleet communications in real time." Admiral Kim smiled grimly. "Begin operation." "Confusion. I want their fleet commanders receiving contradictory orders from their own high command." The human cyber warfare specialists began flooding the alien communication networks with false orders, fake intelligence reports, and carefully crafted disinformation. Within hours, different sections of the alien fleet were attacking each other, convinced that their fellow ships had been compromised by human forces. Admiral Korthel found himself fighting a war against an enemy that seemed to anticipate his every move. When he ordered his ships to retreat, the humans were already waiting at his fallback positions. When he attempted to regroup, human forces appeared from directions that should have been impossible. The breaking point came when half of his own fleet opened fire on his command ship, following orders they believed had come from Galactic High Command, but had actually been transmitted by human infiltrators. Admiral Korthel was forced to abandon his flagship and retreat to a smaller vessel, leaving behind the most advanced command systems in the Galactic Fleet. "All remaining ships," he transmitted on emergency frequencies, "withdraw immediately. Return to Council space for regrouping." As the remnants of the Ravager fleet limped away from Earth, Admiral Kim stood in his command center surrounded by displays showing captured alien vessels, disabled ships drifting in space, and most importantly, a planet that remained free and independent. "Status report," he requested from his staff. 60% of the alien fleet captured or destroyed, reported Commander O. 0 human casualties. We now have access to enough alien technology to reverse engineer their entire technological base. Dr. Young approached with another report. "Admiral, we've been analyzing the communications we intercepted from the fleeing alien ships. They're not just retreating, they're terrified." Admiral Kim nodded slowly. The second battle was over, but he knew the aliens would not give up easily. The Galactic Council chamber had never witnessed such chaos. Representatives from across the galaxy shouted at each other in dozens of languages, while emergency sessions were called and canceled within minutes. The impossible had happened twice, now, and panic was beginning to spread through the civilized worlds like a plague. Emergency Counselor Prexstar stood at the central podium, his crystalline form reflecting the harsh emergency lighting that bathed the chamber. "Fellow representatives," he announced, his voice amplified to overcome the noise, "we face an unprecedented threat to galactic stability." The shouting gradually died down as representatives realized that their carefully ordered universe was crumbling around them. For 3,000 years, the Galactic Council had represented absolute authority in their region of space. No species had ever successfully resisted their will, and certainly none had ever defeated two separate invasion fleets. "The humans of Earth have demonstrated capabilities that our intelligence agencies failed to detect," Prexstar continued. "They have not only repelled our forces but have begun actively hunting our fleets across multiple star systems. A holographic Display materialized above the podium, showing star charts with red markers indicating recent human attacks. Over the past month, human forces had appeared at 17 different locations, striking at Council patrol fleets with devastating effectiveness before vanishing without a trace. Representative Veltar stood slowly, his forearms shaking with rage and fear. How is this possible? We control faster-than-light travel. We control galactic communications. How are these primitives moving freely through our space? The answer to that question was being demonstrated at that very moment in the Kepler 442 system, where Colonel Kim Min-soo led a strike team aboard the battleship Incheon Vengeance. Their target was the Council command ship Eternal Dominion, which was carrying crucial intelligence about planned reinforcements for future attacks on Earth. Team Alpha, begin teleportation sequence, Colonel Kim ordered through his communication system. His team included explosives expert Han Yu-jin and communications specialist Lee Bo-ram, both of whom had become experts at infiltrating alien ships during the previous battles. The human strike team materialized directly on the bridge of the alien command ship, their arrival so sudden that the alien crew had no time to react. Colonel Kim's team moved with the precision of a surgical instrument, disabling the alien commanders and securing the ship's data cores within minutes. "Sir," Lee Bo-ram reported as she interfaced with the alien computer systems, "I'm downloading their complete tactical database. This includes deployment schedules for the next 6 months and detailed specifications for their new Planet Killer-class vessels." Han Yu-jin was setting demolition charges throughout the ship's critical systems, not to destroy the vessel, but to disable it completely. "Charges set, Colonel. This ship won't be going anywhere for a very long time." But Colonel Kim had bigger plans than simply capturing one ship. "Bo-ram, can you access their fleet communication system?" "Already done, sir," she replied. "I have complete control of their quantum communication array." "Excellent," Colonel Kim said with a grim smile. "Send a message to every council ship in this sector. Tell them that the Eternal Dominion has been compromised and is transmitting false orders. Then have the Eternal Dominion order all ships to converge on these coordinates." The plan was simple but devastating. By the time the alien fleet commanders realized what was happening, they would already be shooting at each other. The humans would slip away in the confusion, leaving the aliens to wonder how their most secure communication systems had been compromised. On Earth, Dr. Park Ji-min was working with a team of engineers to analyze the latest captured alien technology. What they discovered was revolutionizing human understanding of physics and engineering. The aliens had built their technology for longevity and standardization, creating systems that lasted for centuries but rarely improved. "General Nam," Dr. Park called out as she approached his station with a data tablet. "We've discovered something remarkable about the alien ship designs. They have built-in functions that even the aliens don't know exist." General Nam looked at the technical specifications with growing amazement. "What kind of functions?" "Emergency protocols, hidden weapon systems, and most importantly, override codes that can take control of any council ship from a remote location," Dr. Park explained. "The aliens built these systems as safeguards against rebellion, but they forgot about them centuries ago. Are you saying we can take control of their entire fleet?" "Not all at once," Dr. Park admitted, "but we can definitely turn their own ships against them whenever we want." Meanwhile, Captain Yu Hye-won was demonstrating another human advantage aboard the battleship Busan Rising. Her ship had appeared simultaneously at 3 different star systems, using a technique that should have been impossible according to galactic physics. The secret was quantum entanglement on a massive scale. Human scientists had discovered that the aliens' faster-than-light technology created quantum signatures that could be duplicated and manipulated. By creating multiple quantum signatures for the same ship, humans could make their vessels exist in several places at once. "Sir," her navigation officer reported, "we have successfully engaged alien patrol fleets in the Vega, Altair, and Proxima Centauri systems simultaneously." Captain Yu nodded with satisfaction. "Maintain engagement for 30 minutes, then execute random withdrawal patterns. I want the aliens to think we have 3 times as many ships as we actually do." The psychological impact of these impossible appearances was devastating the alien forces. Fleet commanders were reporting human attacks in locations that were light years apart, occurring at exactly the same time. The Council's understanding of space and time was being challenged by an enemy that seemed to ignore the fundamental laws of physics. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, Emergency Counselor Prexdar was announcing the most desperate decision. In Council history, fellow representatives, I am authorizing the deployment of the Planet Killer Armada. A shocked silence fell over the chamber. The Planet Killer Armada represented the ultimate expression of Council military power. These were vessels capable of destroying entire worlds, weapons that had been built but never used, because no enemy had ever required such extreme measures. Surely this is premature, protested Representative Korth-El. The humans are confined to a single star system. How much damage can they really cause? They have destroyed or captured over 2,000 of our ships, Prexdar replied. They have turned our own technology against us in ways we never imagined possible. Most importantly, they have begun inspiring rebellion among species we conquered centuries ago. This last point was the most terrifying for the Council. Reports were coming in from across their empire of conquered species, rising up against their occupiers, inspired by humanity's example. If the humans were not stopped soon, the entire galactic order would collapse. Xenopsychologist Choi Seok-jin had been studying alien psychology and military doctrine from the captured vessels. What he discovered explained why the aliens were losing so badly against human forces. Admiral Kim, he reported during the daily briefing, I believe I understand why we have such an advantage over the aliens. Every species in the Galactic Council achieved spaceflight through peaceful cooperation. They never had to fight wars against opponents of equal technological capability. What does that mean for us? Admiral Kim asked. It means they approach warfare like a mathematical problem to be solved, Choi explained. They calculate optimal strategies based on known variables and assume their enemies will respond logically. But humans learned warfare by fighting other humans, opponents who were just as smart and creative as we are. Admiral Kim nodded slowly. So when we do something unexpected, their entire tactical framework collapses, Choi finished. They literally cannot comprehend tactics that are not mathematically optimal, even when those tactics are more effective. The Planet Killer Armada began its journey toward Earth, carrying weapons that could crack planets like eggs and defenses that had never been penetrated. But the humans had spent months studying alien psychology and technology. They knew exactly what was coming, and they had prepared accordingly. Captain An Jun-ho stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, watching the long-range sensors detect the approaching Planet Killer fleet. All stations, begin Operation Last Stand preparation. This is not a drill. The final battle for Earth was about to begin, but the aliens still did not understand what they were truly fighting. They saw humans as a technological problem to be solved with superior firepower. They had no idea that they were facing an opponent that had spent its entire evolutionary history learning to defeat enemies that should have been impossible to beat. Dr. Kim Sua was putting the finishing touches on humanity's greatest surprise. Hidden in the asteroid belt were weapons that would redefine galactic warfare forever. The aliens thought they were bringing overwhelming force to bear against a primitive species. They were actually walking into the most sophisticated trap in the history of warfare. Admiral, she reported through the communication system, Operation Checkmate is ready for implementation. Admiral Kim smiled grimly. The Planet Killer Armada dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system with enough firepower to reduce entire worlds to cosmic dust. Admiral Korth-El commanded this ultimate fleet from his flagship, the Worldbreaker, a vessel so massive that it had its own gravitational field. Behind him followed 200 ships, each one capable of destroying planets and protected by shields that could withstand the heart of a dying star. Begin deep space scanning, Admiral Korth-El ordered his tactical officers. I want to know the exact position of every human vessel and defense platform before we begin our approach. The scans revealed a disturbing picture. Earth hung in its normal orbit, apparently defenseless except for a handful of ships positioned between the planet and the approaching alien fleet. The human vessels were outnumbered 400 to 1, and their combined firepower was less than a single Planet Killer class ship. Sir, the tactical officer reported, human vessels are moving to intercept our advance. They appear to be attempting a defensive formation. Admiral Korth-El studied the tactical display with growing confidence. After months of impossible defeats, and unexplained tactical disasters, the humans were finally behaving like a normal species facing overwhelming odds. They were making a desperate last stand with insufficient forces, exactly as military doctrine predicted they should. "All ships, maintain approach formation," he commanded. "Prepare planet-cracking weapons for deployment once we reach optimal range." Admiral Won Kyung-ho stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship, watching the alien armada approach through his main viewing screen. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations, their faces showing no fear despite being massively outnumbered by the most powerful fleet in galactic history. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "all human ships are in position. Operation Checkmate is ready for implementation." Admiral Won nodded slowly. "Open a communication channel to the alien flagship." The main screen filled with the image of Admiral Korthel, his alien features twisted with confidence and anticipated victory. "Human Commander," the alien said, "you are facing the ultimate expression of galactic military power. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick." "Admiral Korthel," Won replied calmly, "I am Admiral Won Kyung-ho of the Earth Defense Force. I offer you one final opportunity to withdraw your forces and avoid unnecessary bloodshed." Korthel actually laughed at the suggestion. "You face 200 planet-killer class vessels with a handful of primitive ships. You have no hope of victory. We shall see," Admiral Won said quietly, then closed the communication channel. Dr. Kim Sua was monitoring the alien fleet approach from her command station, hidden deep within the asteroid belt. Around her, weapon systems that had taken months to construct were coming online. The aliens had no idea that the asteroid belt itself had been converted into the largest weapons platform in the history of warfare. "All stations report ready," she announced through her communication system. "Initiating Operation Checkmate in 10 seconds. What happened next would be remembered as the moment when galactic warfare changed forever. The asteroids that the alien fleet had dismissed as harmless space debris suddenly revealed themselves to be massive weapons platforms. Particle beam cannons that dwarfed anything on the planet-killer ships opened fire simultaneously, creating a crossfire pattern that no ship could escape. But the real surprise was not the firepower. The real surprise was that every single shot was precisely targeted at specific weak points in the alien ship designs, weak points that the humans had discovered through months of studying captured vessels. The planet-killer ships, which had never been damaged in 5 centuries of warfare, began exploding one after another as their own power cores were deliberately overloaded. "Impossible," Admiral Korthel whispered as he watched his fleet being systematically destroyed by weapons. "That should not exist. Our shields are impenetrable." His science officer was frantically analyzing the human weapons fire. "Sir, they are not trying to penetrate our shields. They are using our own shield frequencies to amplify their weapons and direct the energy directly into our hulls." The humans had turned the aliens' greatest defensive strength into their most critical weakness. The energy shields that protected the planet-killer ships were being used as focusing lenses for human weapons, concentrating the destructive force, instead of deflecting it. Captain An Jun-ho led the human fleet in a coordinated attack that used every lesson learned from previous battles. His ships moved in patterns that the alien targeting computers could not predict, while simultaneously coordinating their fire with the asteroid-based weapons platforms. Within 2 hours, the greatest fleet in galactic history had been reduced to floating wreckage. Admiral Korthel found himself aboard one of the few surviving ships, facing a choice between surrender and complete annihilation. "All remaining vessels," he transmitted on emergency frequencies, "cease fire and prepare to surrender." "Admiral." One accepted the alien surrender aboard his flagship, with Admiral Korthel standing before him in defeat. The alien commander was still struggling to understand how his invincible fleet had been destroyed so easily. "How?" Korthel asked. "How did you defeat weapons that had never known defeat?" "Because you assumed that superior technology was enough," Admiral Won replied. "You never considered that someone might find better ways to use the same technology." The formal surrender ceremony took place in the Galactic Council chamber, which was now guarded by human Marines led by Major Lim Jae-sung. Ambassador Song Hee-jin stood at the central podium where alien representatives had once declared war on Earth, her presence a symbol of how completely the balance of power had shifted. "Representatives of the Galactic Council," Ambassador Song began. Earth formally accepts your surrender and offers terms for a new galactic order. The alien representatives sat in stunned silence as the human ambassador outlined humanity's demands. But the terms were not what anyone expected. Earth did not want to conquer the galaxy or enslave the alien species. They wanted something far more radical: true equality and membership in a reformed galactic community. Earth proposes the establishment of a new galactic compact, Ambassador Song announced, based on mutual respect and cooperation rather than dominance and submission. Representative Veltar stood slowly, his forearms trembling with the shame of defeat. What guarantees do we have that humans will not simply become the new oppressors? Dr. No Sun Wu approached the podium with a data tablet containing the results of months of psychological analysis. Because oppression requires a mindset that humans have evolved beyond, he explained. Every species in the galaxy achieved peace by avoiding conflict. Humans achieved peace by learning to resolve conflict. The truth was becoming clear to the alien representatives. Humanity's advantage was not just technological or tactical, it was psychological. Humans understood warfare so well that they also understood when not to fight and how to create lasting peace. President Jang Mi-young addressed the assembly from Earth via quantum communication link. "Fellow sapient beings," she said, "you gave us a common enemy when you declared war on our world. You united a species that had forgotten how to fight together by reminding us what we fight best against: those who would oppress others. The new Galactic Compact was signed 3 months later, establishing humanity as the protector and military force for a reformed galactic community. Captain An Jun-ho and scientist Kim Soo-ah were tasked with establishing the Terran Defense Academy, where alien species would learn what their peaceful evolution had never taught them. "The universe is not a safe place," Captain An explained to his first class of alien students. "Peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is the presence of justice, and justice sometimes requires the ability to fight for what is right." The aliens learned quickly that humans approached military training differently than any species they had encountered. Instead of focusing purely on technology and firepower, humans taught strategy, psychology, and most importantly, the moral framework that determined when force should and should not be used. Dr. Kim worked with alien scientists to develop new technologies that could protect peaceful species from aggressive neighbors. But more importantly, she taught them to think creatively about problems, to find solutions that seemed impossible at first glance. "Your species spent millions of years learning to cooperate," she explained to her alien colleagues. "Humans spent the same time learning to compete. When we combine cooperation with competitive thinking, we create something neither of our species could achieve alone." 6 months after the end of the war, former War Marshal Thexnor served as a human military advisor, helping to design defensive strategies for vulnerable worlds. The irony was not lost on him that the species he had tried to conquer was now dedicated to protecting his own people from future threats. "Admiral Ko Ye-jin," he said to his human superior, "I must ask you something that has troubled me since our first battle. How did your species know exactly what tactics would be most effective against us?" Admiral Ko smiled and handed him a data tablet containing human military history. "Because we spent thousands of years fighting opponents who were exactly as intelligent and resourceful as we were.